This episode of Corner Juta De Beer is sponsored by MIWAY Blink, the faster, simpler, and more rewarding car insurance. Get a quote in minutes. Get car cover sorted in a blink.
Passion isn't something, you don't just, very few people have a passion for something. So like I have a passion for drawing or whatever. Rarely is that you always have a skill that you improve and then you get passionate about it. So passion is actually follows, a skill that you have.
From Corner Juta De Beer, imi nomsindisi wesizwe, umvelisi mnyango umelisi wesizwe, formerly known as Lwazi Madonsela, bringing you a show about creative entrepreneurs live from the landmark that not only birth SA street culture but also formalize the street hustle. On today's episode, we have Jax. Corner Juta De Beer, umsindisi wesizwe, umvelisi mnyango special edition. Thank God for the savings. Domzimcelo kisamba nonina. Uyena him. Today.
Never nonina. I love that. Is this Duke?
Street one.
Oh, okay.
Street one. But today we have a game changer, a pioneer. You set the vibes everywhere, literally. And I don't go out much, but month end, the budget knows it's going to good morning. Good morning.
Ooh.
We have Jax.
How's it?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Stressed but good.
This one I was excited for this one. I told Lenny, I'm like, yo, Lenny, man, I need this one. Call him. Hit him with a reminder, yo, please set it up.
And then?
He sets it up. When I get the news, I'm chilling with my friend Masanov. Masanov was like, yo, they need to add us on guest list now. Now we know Jackson in real life.
Yeah.
We know Jackson in real life. I'm like, the real question I need to understand from Jax is like, how to create the structures of a business that's within Passion Point.
Yo, that's a toughie that I've answered many times, but I feel like it changes every year. Structures were hard to put in place because for us, we were a bunch of friends who then started this business because we figured it wasn't even passion more than it was, who's passionate about groove? It was passionate more than it was, we realized we were good at it.
Yeah.
And my CEO likes to actually say that passion isn't something, very few people have a passion for something. So like I have a passion for drawing or whatever. Rarely is that you always have a skill that you improve and then you get passionate about it. So passion is actually follows, a skill that you have. So that's how I look at how we started. And those structures, it took a couple of years. It's 10 years now. There's certain things we still don't have on lock. Mm-hmm. But I would say the typical stuff of like dedication to your business. When I say hard work, I mean smart work. Like finding smarter ways to work than grueling ways to work. But I still don't know really. I do know how we did it. It's just sometimes it's just like, how did we survive and create? So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I've answered your question.
No, I get the gist of it. Like, I think more than anything, it's like for me how Until has like transitioned itself as a company, an events company. What was that thing that told you guys that, yo, we need to diversify now? Because I'd love to support Until, right? As a patron. Always because the event's guaranteed. Good food, lineup is always great. There's a guaranteed experience. It's like, you guys, for me, are like the McDonald's of a good time. I know what I'm going to get.
I know exactly
what I signed up for. I know.
It's the same everywhere.
It's not weird. If I go to roast, there's food. If I go here, there's this.
Yeah.
And the type of crowd, I'm not worried about being mugged.
Yeah.
But how did you know that, we have to transition from this to daytime events to then also last year what you did with Roast when you changed the venue?
Yeah. So I think it's a matter of growth, right? So when we first started, we were really into themed parties. So Genesis All Black, Pajama Party, High School Cool. And those were very much predominantly at night and grooving in like darkness and like a full-on rager.
Yeah.
And then as you get older, because when we started Until I was 20, 21, as you get older and as in general, like life changes, you have to pivot, right? So what we noticed is that raw groove, like what I grew up in, like we arrive, there's no like tables, we arrive, we groove and we go home. people wanted more, and it's tied in with social media and things that are Instagrammable and, you know, being seen. And literally all the brands kept saying is, we want to create an experience, So that's how you pivot into a Sunday roast. And you think to yourself, I mean, Sunday roast is the silliest. It's happened by mistake, where my friend had a party, Tools. He had a party with Cedric, the photographer, and they did it at Great Dane, and they said, we'll give everyone food and they'll come in, we'll groove, and we'll just DJ. We won't announce lineup. It was a birthday party when Rose first started. And then it was just so excellent. We were like, we can commoditize this. And we're calling it Sunday Rose because myself and Tools, for example, are expats. We don't get the full Sunday lunch that everyone gets from their parents when they go home or whatever. And we wanted to tap into that whole food experience. Whereas Good Morning comes out of circumstance of COVID. You have rules, you have regulations. If you have an event, once we had eased, it has to be outside. Only 400 people outside. Curfew at the time was 8 p.m. No, it was 9 p.m. So we wanted to have an event that was obviously outside. And another thing we had noticed was, whilst DJs were coming up once the things were eased, live bands still weren't getting booked because they need, you know, the full on stage, and they can't just go to club and perform. So that's how Good Morning was born. And sometimes we're really on the nose with things and they work. Sunday roast, Good Morning, because the party starts at 10 a.m., finishes at 6, so that everyone could make their way home before curfew, and we're not liable. So I think for us, we've always wanted to continuously pivot and not be stuck in what we know and take a risk in something that we don't know. And that's how those day grooves that are food focused are born.
How did you know? Like, every time someone's like, no, your idea has to be special. Like, it's been created, everyone's hosted an event, everyone's hosted a brunch. But how do you know how to sell it to a brand? Because you are telling the brand story, like you'll get like a coup. You guys were telling the coup story for the longest time. How do you know how to tell that story? So
brands don't necessarily always know what they want. I find a lot of brand people I think it's changing now because younger people are taking up the positions of brand managers. But marketing departments still believe in above the line. So television, radio, all the stuff in terms of advertising. But brands are realizing that, for example, a brand like Coup, because our generation doesn't watch as much TV anymore, we don't see their ads. And because we're not like as super family orientated, I'm not thinking about like Coup in that family way, in the way that it's sold to me. Right? So I was lucky enough with Coup to find a brand manager who was young, who kind of like understood that in order for them to keep the generational brand alignment that we have with All Gold or Coup, because they were starting to lose market share, is that they have to tap into young people. And young people are either on YouTube, but now we all have YouTube blockers, or we prescribe YouTube Premium, or they start tapping into events. But you don't just tap into any event, you know, and that's why it was so easy for Good Morning, for Coup, for example, to tap into Good Morning, because we've labeled that as Good Morning, a brunch concert, right? So brunch, so the food is a big focus on this and the concert element, and that's why we're not getting the biggest piano DJs all the time. It's more focused on the live band. So then you have to find strategically, you have to think bigger than what you were taught in school. And we didn't go to marketing school. Only one of our CEO went to school for marketing. The rest of us, one's a lawyer, I studied politics, someone else studied finance and is now a designer. So we don't have we're not stuck in the box of what we were taught. This is what marketing is. This is what branding is. So we can think of different ways to help brands come alive.
Yeah. And then how do you package that experience? Because now you're hosting a Good Morning. We trust that you host events, but how do you package this for us? Like Bacardi Holiday. How
for you guys.
Packaging?
So everyone always thinks it's just like success. I think we've lost money for the first 3 good Bacardi Holiday clubs, for example, we've lost money. But the first year, for example, we gave away free tickets because saying to someone, it's an all-inclusive festival, your food will be free, your alcohol will be free, no one believes that. There has to be a catch. Right.
What type of food is it?
What's going on? So that first year we gave away a lot of tickets to be like, come see this thing so that you can tell your friends that it's real. Right? So we're not above, and I think it's we're lucky in this regard, is that we have created a large network of people around us, based on the fact that we've turned ourselves into a reputable brand. So you can trust us. And that trust has grown over 10 years, right? And so that's how I can now, at this stage of my life, 10 years later, sell you a good morning and you don't even think twice. But 5 years ago, when I was doing Bacardi Holiday Club and it was the first one, people didn't even believe Swiss Beats was actually going to be on our lineup, you know, and he was there to like 600 to like 600 people. And it was the most private concert we've ever had, because then he jumped off the stage and he was singing amongst the crowd, because that's how intimate it was. But those people who trusted us even 5 years ago were able to say, these are the guys, and then go tell this one and this one that trust and believe. So it's building trust more than anything. That's how we are able to sell it to you guys. But also I think we put in a lot of marketing comms, which a lot of events don't do. We have individual social media pages for each groove. So you are able to, instead of it just being an until page, you go to Good Morning, you see food imagery, you see these artists, you see bands, and you're like, oh, so this is what they do here. So that's also how you differentiate all the grooves. And yeah.
What's the formality, right? Because you're hosting these things, right? And you're hosting them 90% of the time because you've been around for 10 years.
Yeah.
These are artists you've seen grow. These are artists who are asking for a stage. Now they're the biggest act, right?
Yeah.
What's the formality you can't skip that formality in hosting an event?
Well, I guess it's JOC, because without JOC, which is Joint Organizational Committee, they're the people who allow you to throw your event. Can't do one without them. There's a little book and they come and they check everything. So that's what is an actual formality. But we don't do an event without Strat before. So we actually we don't just go, we want to throw a party for 400 people, we'll call it this. No. We want to throw an event. Okay, who are we targeting? This age group. What are the insights for this age group? Which brand aligns with this event? So I think for us, there's a lot of pre-planning that we would never not do, that goes into then making the event what it is, if I'm understanding your question correctly. Without strat, without design, you know, we don't use stock imagery. We use our own imagery from past events. So those three things, JOC, strat, and design, without them, there is no event.
Yeah.
And then you get into the event production that we can do with our eyes closed. Sourcing the stage, getting the artists, this, that.
What are those supply relationships like? Because now you were hosting in December.
Yeah.
Best day ever. It's like, now you're moving to Cape Town. You have your
So
team in
hard.
Joburg.
It's so hard to leave the city. So Cape Town is easy because, for example, our bar supplier, they have grounds in Cape Town. That's about it. Everything else we have to kind of like source there. And so in Joburg now, after 10 years, not to say that it's easy, but I have the same sound guy I've had since the first Genesis. Carlton. No, second Genesis. Yeah, second Genesis. I've had that same guy. And so we went from a relationship where, for example, we would have to pay everything up front with Carlton or he wouldn't switch the sound on, to now we've been doing business with you for 10 years.
He invoices you now.
And like you can pay Carlton like 2 weeks later, then he even forgets, you know. That's the good thing about maintaining good relationships with your suppliers. They come through for you in the craziest of ways, you know what I mean? When your PO hasn't been released by a band, but you need a crazy stage with LED or whatever. I know Carlton because I've never not paid him. I've never fucked him over. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never fucked him over. He knows that at the end of the day, he's going to get his money from me. So now he can do us that favor. You You know what I mean with sound, but when you're starting off with new suppliers, like we have new food suppliers at Good Morning, it's Shay and some other.
That was great. I'm
that
not
pork,
lie to you.
that pork belly.
I went for the pork, then I had the steak. I'm sorry to you, listeners, but
that pork belly sandwich had me in tears. You know, for them, like I had to pay them immediately by Tuesday.
Yeah.
But in the next 6 months, I'm going to build that relationship and make sure I pay them on time. And then by next year, we'll work easier. So, and that's why it's hard to go to other cities. It's supplies. You know, Cape Town is easy because a lot of brands are in Cape Town. A lot of brands have offices in Cape Town. So I can ask, yo, Johnny Walker, who do you know in Cape Town who did your sound like this and this and that? That's easy. Durban, Eastern Cape. That's where it becomes tricky.
Shout out Eastern Cape.
and that's my home province, guys. I was born and raised there. I'm not slandering the EC, but I don't even know where I would start. You know what I mean? And maybe that's a challenge. I'll give it to myself for next year.
And the past 2 years, you've pivoted beyond until.
Yeah.
Now they're tapping into you like you as the persona. What are the opportunities like once you do your thing and you do your thing so well for so long?
Yeah. So I became an influencer by mistake. Not by mistake, but like doing something as well as we have done it, me and my team, then allowed my following to grow, which then allowed brands to start approaching me, which then means multiple income streams, because this is Cyril's economy. So you need those. So I think for me, it's opened up doing things well. It's opened up investments into our business that we've been able to pivot and buy a restaurant.
Yeah.
And now we have a restaurant. And it's great. And I mean, it's hard. It's not like doing one event and then, but we'll get to that.
You have to maintain all the time.
Yeah. And then for me, then becoming, I don't like to say I'm an influencer because I think, or content creators, because I don't create content. Like, it's a bane of my existence. Once a brand comes and says, please, can you come up? I'm like, yo, actually, I source my ideas from the office. Like, hi, guys, what do you think I should do this? I like to think of myself as a human billboard, rather. Because I think content creation is a skill, and I don't think the two should be mixed. Like, you create content so that I have something beautiful to see, and then that influences me. Whereas I'm just like, here's some tea.
It's good tea.
I drink tea every day. Here's some tea. So I think that's what it's opened us up for. It's just opportunities to grow further and do more and be more. And I think 021. They stole our car yesterday. I'm assuming that's insurance.
You need to get insurance. If you don't have insurance, you need that car insurance. This is gonna make sense in post-production. But
shucks.
You've been in the game 10 years, successfully as well. You keep growing, diversifying the investment. To a kid at home, 2023, what's it like building a community? What would you say would work as someone who's inside?
Building a community?
Yeah.
I think in South Africa, with all of our issues, I think you build a community when you create a safe environment, right? And that goes for women, for men, for LGBTQ, plus, almost forgot, plus, you building a community is more than just a good time. You're building something where some people feel safe, people feel seen, acknowledged, and finding ways to do that. So for us, we've had VIP sections before at our events, but over the last 5 years, we've kind of gotten rid of that because we stand on a pillar of inclusivity so much. And I think that's how we built our community, is that you can be sure that it's not guaranteed, but you can be sure that if you come to anything of our events or if you do anything with us, you're safe, you can trust us, we will defend you. And do you know what I mean? Because I think there's maybe not a misconception, but there's an issue of there's a difference between popularity and building a community. You can be popular. People can idolize you and be like, I want to be you when I grow up and love everything that you do. But inviting people into your home, which is your life or your business, or I think is a whole different standard. And I don't necessarily know how to build a community. I just know the qualities that make for good communities, you know. So if I'm going to have an event and, you know, someone who identifies as a woman, for example, but isn't scientifically female, the Gen Zs are teaching me well, isn't scientifically female, and they want to use a female bathroom, they should be allowed to. Now, that might not happen instantaneously, but if they come to me and they're like, I've been denied access to your bathroom, I will have to make sure that I have to go to that bouncer and say,
personally,
yeah, you know, and teach them. And that's how I create a community of people coming to my events. You know, a bouncer, for example, usually Nguni men from KwaZulu-Natal, our bouncers at least, staunch Zulu men who are like, whatever. But, for example, we did an event for Tebe. We helped Tebe Magugu's 10 years. We were producing that event. And Tebe had wanted all the bouncers to wear that tunic of his, you know, that it's basically almost like a long knitted dress, right? And one bouncer was like, I'm not doing that. And we were like, why are you not secure in your masculinity? What is it? No, I'm not doing that. Then we said, okay, then we don't have space for you here. Called his boss and said, please, can you get us someone else who's willing? Yeah, because if someone is unwilling to do something as like that's so simple as wearing a dress,
that changes nothing.
Yeah, and then I wonder what kind of person you are, and will you actually protect the people that are in this event? You know, and regardless of your beliefs, because something so small has touched you so much, and you're not going to, no one's going to call you gay, no one's going to call you anything, and that's not even really an insult anyway. So it's that's how I think we've built our community. 2023, I don't know. We'll see.
There's two questions that are most important on the show. The first one is, do you still think we need landmarks? Like CNR JUTA DE BEER,
100%.
like the likes of the Royale?
100%. I believe in landmarks. I believe in pockets of culture. Not now how culture's been used in the, you know, like streetwear became culture.
Yeah.
Braamfontein became culture. You come here, we were having shoots here, you could go, there was the Addy store there was Nike, there's Puma at the top there, Great Dane, Kitcheners as a whole, what do they call it? Heritage site, you know. Those things are important, one, for tourism. If we want our country to grow and to be a place where people are interested in coming, we need landmarks.
Not sponsoring Tottenham.
Do not get me started. We need landmarks, you know what I mean? For when people come to this, we have these little pockets. It's like when you go to New York, you have to go to Brooklyn, and then you have to go to this place. That's what is attractive to, if we're looking at it from globalization, right? Yeah. And then you need landmarks because people need a place to belong. All people need a place to belong outside of their houses. Right? So there was a time I was very much in BRAAM every Saturday, Great Dane, from Thursday to Saturday. I belonged in Braamfontein. I don't belong here anymore.
Royale.
You know, I've moved further up north.
Craig, old boys, stand up.
But yeah, landmarks are important because people need spaces that accommodate them. At the time, it was peak of street culture. You know, you see with the community, the LGBTQ community, they have shakers, right? That's their place for them to enjoy. And Melville at some point was, and that strip was a landmark for students to come and enjoy or whatever. So people need to feel like they're part of something, and that's why landmarks are important. Because if we end up with just like clubs and malls, it's a poor quality of life.
Final, most important question. Need to look into the camera when you answer this one.
I will do so.
What's your word to the youth?
What's my word to the youth? Nkosi yami.
MIWAY.
Let me think. I actually want to say something. Yeah. If there is no space for someone like you or someone in your demographic, someone in your LSM, if there's no space, create the space. Open the space. Be the space. Poetry. So if you feel like there is a need for a certain kind of event, for example, start it. If you feel like we should be eating African food in a 5-star way, go get that chef's degree. Is it a degree, even diploma? I don't know. And start a restaurant or start a pop-up or start a food truck. Yeah, I think our generation has grown up with lawyer, doctor, accountant, whatnot, and those spaces are no longer open because they're full, because everyone tried to be a lawyer, everyone tried to be a doctor. And now people are stuck because the route that they were meant to take is failing them. The country is basically failing its people. And so there's no more access to things that you should have access to. So yeah, create the access. Open up. What's that meme? What's that meme?
Oh,
yeah. Open it up.
Nah, this was great. This was wonderful.
Yeah.
Industry.
Yeah, you see.
And Joe, Until has a website. Go ask for work.
Aye. Please, guys. I've employed all my people that I've employed are majority more women. So all our past 4 employees were women, and they're all born in 99. I'm doing my part. I'm doing the best that I can. When something opens up, for sure, but
open up the industry.
Have I not done enough?
Amahle-Imvelo. This episode of JUTA DE BEER is sponsored by MIWAY Blink, the faster, simpler, and more rewarding car insurance. Get cover in a blink. You can get up to 50% monthly cash back when you drive less than 2.5 kilometers per month. You can also manage your cover wherever and wherever with MIWAY Blink. Get a code in minutes.